You can see I've made the pads now, the SP style pads, 2-hole design. These pieces here I've cut from 30-inch styrene, and they're going to be the filler material between the jacking pad and the bolster, as you can see, because we've removed all this material and they're going to be on the outside edge, so we need a piece of filler material in between all this, and so I've cut these pieces of styrene to fit. So I have the locomotive jerry rigged up in a very professional looking rig here. That way I can work on the underside. Yes, I know it's very safe, but I've done this enough times I can be pretty careful. As long as I keep a hand on it like this, I'll be fine. I'll only work in one area at a time, but we're basically going to go ahead and install these jacking pads. Basically I'm going to start with a little bit of liquid plastic cement. And I'm going to take the piece of 30-inch styrene and butt it right up to this piece here, so we can blend it in. So it'll fit basically just like that. And then what we can do is come behind with more cement. We'll make sure that the pad is in the correct position here. You can see on the actual pad the little bolt holes there. If I can actually get it to focus, there we go. The bolt holes are going to be facing down, not up like this. So we need to make sure that they're in the correct location. So I'm going to go ahead and position this very carefully and mount them in place. The plastic cement, I'm using plastic cement in particular so I can get it in its final position, because this is something you need to be able to work into its final position. So I'm just going to very carefully press it into shape. You can see it's in the correct position here. Looks pretty good. Now I'm only filming this part because we also got to add the special tensioner, which is this piece here that I've also had to cut from styrene because we've had to remove this piece on the model, removing the stock jacking pad. So I'm going to go ahead and add that next. And all we got to do with this is basically just position it like this, right behind the pad, just like that, and we'll let that set up a little bit. So like I said, I'll only demonstrate that for the one side, but you basically get the idea here. I'm just gluing these to the frame. What we got here, we got accurate jacking pads now. It's a much needed improvement for the prototype. It looks really good. Okay, so now we get to kind of see what this model is looking like so far. You guys up till this point I've only seen the bits and pieces, not the whole thing together, but this is it for now. Where we're at, we pretty much have all the main details on the car body. Obviously it's looking a little bare, a little weird because a lot of these parts aren't painted yet, but this is a good way to show us exactly everything that we've done here. For anyone who's just tuning in or anything like that might see this video too, you can see all the parts that we've had to add here. So all the pilot details are pretty much done other than the snowplow, which I'll show in a second. You can see I'm keeping the MU cables on the pilot for now. We'll be able to fit the snowplow over those. I'm not going to have to move those around. They're in the correct location. We have the ditch lights. We have all the nice MU equipment, custom coupler lift bars. I've also went ahead and added the front handrail back onto the model as well. This is the stock piece. I thought I was going to have to replace this because it was covered in glue, but I was actually able to save it by cleaning it off, stripping all the old glue off. It took quite a while. It was pretty painstaking. And I was able to strip everything out, re-drill the holes, and I was able to carefully piece the whole handrail assembly back together here for the front pilot. So that's on. It's glued in place. Just got to do some final adjustments to straighten it up, but that's about it. You can see the top of the cab details as well. All looking really good. There's another look at all of our nice cab details. Completely finished. Pointing out the issue with the window there. Everybody was talking to me about the modification for the L window. I know that this prototype does have that mod with the L window. Originally this had an L-shaped window, and at some point in time when it got shopped, they took out the old L window and put a small thin piece of metal plate between them to divide the two windows like a regular EMD cab. I was not able to do this modification on this, which would require me cutting out a space in the window to basically lengthen it and then cut a new glazing. I'd either have to do that, or I'd have to cut the cab face off and replace it or redo the cab entirely. And as I mentioned to someone, I didn't really want to have to redo the entire cab because I want to preserve this patching, because no one makes this exact style font and lettering for the HLCX patch on the side. Also, it's a hell of a lot of paint matching, and I don't really want to have to do that. So I decided to just leave that. It's close enough in my mind, it'll be alright. So that's why I decided to skip that. But again, we got all the SP appropriate details for the most part, like the jacking pad. We got the full see-through intake there. And then just a good overhead shot, again, to show you guys all the nice little details that we've added. I really like those lift rings, those look cool. The fans also came out really good. So that's pretty much it for now. The next step is going to be to start repainting pretty much all the detail parts. What we got to do to this is add the white reflective sill striping. I'm going to be doing the real reflective tape on the sills. So that'll be the next thing I'm going to start filming here. I'm going to try to work on that tonight before I call it a night here. I've had to work on some other stuff all day, but got some time tonight to work on this, so I'm going to go ahead and sit down and try to knock that next big step out. And I'll go ahead and show you guys that real fast. So like I said, I'm going to be doing the reflective stripes on this engine, and what I like to use is this product called Western Safety Reflective Tape. It's basically comes in rolls. I mostly use the yellow and black, but it also comes in the red and white. And in this particular case, this is really cool because you can do the ex-Union Pacific striping, and you can do Norfolk Southern white striping, really any kind of road locomotive striping you want. They pretty much make this color, and all you got to do is cut it out. In this particular case, the tape I'm using here is this, and you guys can read the label and look this up. I got this from Harbor Freight Tools. It's about $10 a roll, which is a pretty good investment considering that you know, this lasts a lifetime. I mean, I bought all these rolls. I bought the yellow one I have, and this one I want to say like 5 years ago, and I mean, you can see I'm not going to be running out of this anytime soon, so it's a cool investment. But that's the product I'm using to do these stripes. So basically what I do here is I cut the strips out, I measure them out, and use a metal straight edge. You want to use a metal straight edge for stuff like this, especially if you're using a sharp X-Acto blade like this, because if you use a wooden one or any other like plastic ruler or something like that, you'll shave the edges real good. I need to be able to get very fine lines, so I usually ride right up against that edge of that ruler. So I use a metal ruler in particular for this film cutting. And I also always use a brand new X-Acto blade, in this case for number 2 X-Acto. And I've cut out all the strips to the exact size that I need to match the sills. It's going to get a little bit tricky, especially going around the corners and anti-climber, stuff like that, but we'll make it work. So with the film, all you got to do after you've cut it out into strips is transfer it to the model. Now remember that this is a self-adhesive backing. It's just like foil tape. All you got to do is basically take the strips, and I'll center them as close to the hole for the stanchion as I can. Remember, you don't want these blocking the actual stanchion holes themselves, and it's kind of hard to cut the material or drill through the material, so you don't really want to put it over the stanchion holes. It's just easier to take the foil and get it right up to the stanchion hole, and then I'll just carefully, as precisely as I can, cut it right up at the stanchion hole like that. And once I've done that, then I can just basically take and grab a new piece here. In this particular case, I got to cut a new edge on this one, like this. There we go. After we've done that, we just continue on like this until we get all these little areas covered. This is going to be stretching all the way down the sill.